points last night or something. You got something? Good afternoon and welcome to yet another edition of Government in Transition, a special program brought to you compliments of the People's Progressive Party, Civic. I'm joined today by veteran politician Joseph Hamilton and, of course, attorney at law, Mr. Adrian Anamayah. Gentlemen, I welcome you both to today's program.
Hi, Michael. Good day. And Adrian, good day. Nice seeing you. And viewers, good day.
Good evening. Good afternoon to all our viewers, and it's a pleasure being here.
Okay, let's get into the issues of the day, Adrian. I like to pull on the legal mind first. And we'll deal specifically with the letter written to Mr. Keith Lowenfield, the Chief Elections Officer of GECOM, by the chairman of GECOM, requesting the results emanating from the recount exercise. And the wording of her letter was very specific. From a legal standpoint, Adrian, speak to the fact of how bound the chief elections officer, or for want of a better word, how much wiggle room, whether legal or not, does he have to go awry again following that letter?
Well, yeah, to answer your question, he has absolutely no wiggle room. There's nothing else for him to do but to comply with the lawful directions given to him by the chairperson, and she is acting in accordance with the law. She's not doing something or asking him to do something to violate the law in any way. In fact, when you read the letter, it's very well written, and the chairperson was to direct Mr. Lowenfield to the specific laws and the sections that she's referring to. And she started the letter by saying that Section 18 of the Elections Law Amendment Act of 2000, referring to that section, and what that section says is that the CEO has to report and is under the direct supervision of the commission and the chair. So she made that clear, and she's asking him, she goes further and refers to the relevant article in the Constitution, I think it's 162(1)(b), and asks him to prepare his report. And he has no other duty but to comply with it, and she's quite clear. He has to prepare the report based on the 10 certificates of recount, valid votes from the 10 certificates of recount that the recount process produced. So this is crystal clear. There is no room for misinterpretation. There is no room for Mr. Lowenfield to say, I don't understand. And when we go to the Representation of the Act, Section 96 of the Act, it sets out his duties there again, that he has to prepare this, calculate the total number of valid votes, which is already done. All of that is done on a platter now. So it's like an automatic, a remote process he has to do now. And furnish the report to the chairperson in order for the declaration to be made. So he has a function, a statutory function that he has to perform, and he has to be mindful of his duties. He knows exactly. I think our viewers must understand it, that Mr. Lowenfield knows exactly what he has to do. He has done this in past elections. He has been a part of GECOM now for several years. He has been there for several elections. So he is no stranger to this process, and he knows exactly what has to happen. But he's allowing himself, or he has allowed himself in the past, to be misled by these miscreants. I could only describe them as that, from APNU, who and he must be a special kind of fool if he thinks he's going to take advice from Basil Williams as to what the law is. Mr. Lowenfield has an opportunity here to redeem himself. He's a countryman. He's right here from Barbies, from 53 village, I think he hails from. So he is a Barbician, have to do your country, Mr. Lowenfield, and I'm speaking directly to you. I hope this gets to you. You have to do your country and your countrymen, your Barbadians, proud today by doing what is right. We are not asking you to break the law or to violate the law. Now, okay, what's in the past is in the past. You have this grand opportunity now to comply with the law. And I will remind you, the APNU upstarts are leading you up the gum tree. They will not be sharing a prison cell with you. They will not be willing to do that. Even when the matters were called, the private criminal charges that were laid against Mr. Lowenfield were called in the magistrate's court. I didn't see any of the APNU lawyers there lining up to represent Mr. Lowenfield. So he will be standing alone. And APNU will drop him like a hot cake. They will drop him so fast. His head will spin. So he has an opportunity now. So comply with the law and produce the report in accordance with the valid vote, not what he decides is valid votes, what the recount has produced and what the CCJ has said are valid votes. As a matter of fact, the CCJ just referred us back to our laws. It's there, and Mr. Lowenfield is fully aware of that. So he can do, to answer the question again, he is obliged to follow the instructions given to him by the chairperson and to produce a proper report.
Joe, you have a unique way of conceptualizing these things and also explaining these things. We're well within an hour of the compliance to which Adrian referred. Your own thoughts on this particular scenario?
Well, as Adrian has said, legalistically, I will put it in simple layman's terms. The first paragraph of the letter from Claudette Singh to Lowenfield reminded him that, hey, boss, you work for me. That's what basically you said. I don't know where you get all of this gumption from, listening to the likes of Basil Vincent Alexander. And that is what deliberately she started off that missive that way. To remind this gentleman, if for whatever reason, I'm told he was a lot in the quarries, because quarries idling out, so maybe a lot of dust get into his ears and his nostrils, and so she is trying to ensure that we can extricate all of that and let him become a free man. So she starts out by saying, listen, Mr. Lowenfield, you work for me. That's where she starts this conversation. No other place. And that is important because in this sense, she is already telegraphing and alerting Mr. Lowenfield that if you fail to comply with the instructions and the laws, I can fire you because I hire you. That is basically what is happening. So he has two options here. It's either he comply, or if he fails to, that will be dereliction of duty, and that will be, Adrian would know more than I do, you can be summarily dismissed for dereliction of duty. You understand? Because you failed to carry out a lawful request of your boss. And therefore, that is where it's at. Secondly, she says, listen, when you're complying, this is how you must comply. You must comply utilizing the results, and not leave it the result, the certificates of the results. For Lowenfield to make the one certificate, he has to utilize 10 certificates from the 10 districts. And you had 10 certificates signed off at the recount by 10 coordinators who, in that scheme of things, acted like returning officers of the specific district. So it's not, you can't go and pluck numbers out of the air like you did the last time. I am directing you from where the report coming to me must derive. That is the 10 certificates of recount. And importantly, Adrian and Michael also, she spoke to the issue of valid votes recounted, because on the certificates, you have several columns there, and you have rows, and you have a row that talks to the total amount of votes cast. And then you have a row that talks to spoiled votes and rejected ballots. And then you have a row that says, these are the valid votes. And that is what so all he has to do is a mathematical calculation, utilizing a simple calculator, and calculate the 10 numbers of the valid votes on the 10 requests, 10 certificates. And is to also, and importantly, this final report, the most important thing in it is the extrapolation for the allocation of seats, because he has already submitted to the commission what the recount numbers were. That is how the whole world is aware that the PPP got 233,000 votes and APNU got 217, because he submitted that. Of course, he had attached to that this statistical fiction and permutation, where he even suggested that Adrian the last Barbisto Granger. You remember that? But the point is that two important things, as I've said in simple layman language. One, the gentleman is reminded by the chair that you works for me. And secondly, the report that you bring to me that you work for, this is how it must be. And basically, that is what this letter is saying. So 2 o'clock, we will see, of course, as Adrian has mentioned, he's advised by senior counsel Basil Williams, who, you know, incidentally, this guy talks a lot in Guyana. And this man was given half an hour by the CCJ to present his arguments. You know how much it took? 5 minutes of it? You understand me? All this talk up. He had an opportunity before esteemed judges to argue his case. Now the arguments he should have put there Wednesday, he's arguing it after the fact, post. The man gave up. Who, think about it, the laugh among the legal fraternity, the esteemed Attorney General of Guyana, senior counsel, given half an hour to argue his case before the apex court of Guyana. And he said to Sanders, Chief, I give you back 25 minutes. I can only take 5 minutes in this thing. So he is now advising Lowenfield to say, okay, GECOM can't instruct you. I mean, what kind of ludicrosity is that? You're working for me, I can instruct you? I mean, even a sugar cake shop, the cashier knows that is the man who buys the sugar and the coconut and son make the sugar cake. He responsible for her. So all she does is collecting his money. So in the simplest of terms, they recognize that. So this senior counsel, you know, another place I will put other things behind the scene. But right now I just say senior counsel because I'm on public television.
I understand the sarcasm and the cynicism in that, and it's an interesting point. You could liken it onto Adrian, or you could liken it onto a batsman striding out to the crease with all his gloves, his pads, and everything well decked out. He tucks away a single onto the onside, and then he declares.
Yeah. Description that you're using and Joe used. But the fortunate thing, Michael, is that you have what Pastor Williams is doing, and he couldn't address the CCJ. He had nothing of substance to tell them. And remember, that was being broadcast to the world live. You understand? And he has proven repeatedly. So he has been unmasked repeatedly. So the world knows now that we have a real apology for an attorney general in Ghana. It's an embarrassment, a national disgrace and an embarrassment. And but the thing is, the Chronicle, like today, the Chronicle headline: GECOM can't direct CEO on what to put in the report. A attorney general says that GECOM chair orders Lowenfield to submit report based on recount. He's saying, this guy is saying that there's some breach the constitution by the chairperson doing what she is lawfully entitled, has a responsibility to do. Somehow, Pastor Williams is saying now that she is in violation of the constitution, and he's advising Lowenfield that he doesn't have to listen to that lawful direction from the chairperson. Now, this is, we have run out of adjectives, Michael, to describe this guy. But the thing is, it is reckless, it is dangerous, it's desperate, and they have their supporters who they continue to mislead with this kind of nonsense. You understand? Mr. Lowenfield knows that this is pure nonsense that Pastor Williams is advising.
If I might insert myself here, Adrian, I'm going to come back to you. But Mr. Lowenfield is on record. He's on record. He's in a video recording stating what the writing is.
Right. So he knows. He knows exactly what has to happen because he did it in 2015, as recent as 2015, and I think those videos are from around 2015 or from then, sometime from then to now. So he couldn't have forgotten from then to now. He knows. So this now is another last-ditch effort to continue to delay and derail this process. And we have to place we have to place our confidence in the chair that she will do the right thing. She has done what she is required to do. Now the ball is in Lowenfield's court. As you said, he comes out. Let's liken him to the batsman now. So he has to play the strokes now. And the chairperson has told him exactly what has to be done. So there's no room for error. And I expect him to comply with the law and give the report, as Joe just outlined, is a mathematical calculation. 10 sets of figures have to be added up, and you do a division to come up with the total number of votes. You do a division to come up by 65 to come up with the allocation of seats. So it is a very simple process. It's actually a form at the back of the representation of the people. It is a form he has to pull out. This is not rocket science. It's very simple procedure that to be complied with, and I have every confidence that it will be done now. It has to be done now. By 2 o'clock.
Joe, I want to bring you in on a very important issue. When all has been done, all has been attempted, including numerous attempts to swearing the incumbent following the March 2nd election. We are now hearing utterances, specifically from people like the Vincent Alexanders of this world, that there should be fresh elections. How do you fathom the level of duplicity, the level of asininity, the level of barefaced trickery? How do you address these?
No, I mean, if you go back in time, Vincent Alexander, I have said, pre-elections, is one of the chief architects with the attempt to rig the 2020 elections. Because APNO, PNC, AFC, whatever they call themselves, they know they didn't have the numbers to win these elections. They know that. With all their madness, they're not foolish. And therefore, remember, he set out to attempt in the first stage to set the stage for rigging by knocking people off of the voters list, along with Patterson and them to do this new house-to-house registration. So that is where the attempt started. Now they have done everything possible, utilizing the court for their nefarious purposes. And the recognition now is upon them that the end is here. You know, some persons have said, ordinary people said, the only court now they can go to is to Palm Court or Betancourt or Hampton Court, because the issue about utilizing the court for political benefit is over and done with. The CCJ has closed all the doors. Secondly, every utterance and everything that is coming from the chairman has indicated to them that this declaration would be made from only the recount results and nothing else. So they are clear about that. They know where this is going. They know where this train is going. And therefore, all the cards have run out. And therefore, Vincent Alexander now recognizes that the only thing that is left to ask for, stupidly anyhow, because as the chairperson indicated some time ago, that GECOM has no constitutional authority and role to discuss these matters as regards annulling elections and nullifying elections. And if GECOM don't even have the authority to invalidate votes, how could they have the authority to nullify an election? So the call he is calling for, he will have to make it after the declaration. Because in real terms, and Adrian would know more than I do, the only time you can make that call is after declaration. According to 163, you can go, Granger just said the other night how much evidence they have, massive amount. Let us see them go presented before the petition, before the election court. They got all this evidence. So Alexander, you can go to the judge, whoever that person will be, and argue your case about nullity. But there is no scope, there is no rooms constitutionally, legally, or otherwise at this juncture and at this moment to nullify an election. And I see Granger, after Vincent took a day to study the judgment, he has advised Granger, because I saw it in Granger page, on Granger page. Granger is referring to Alexander comment. So Granger now is not depending anymore on Basil Williams. His legal counsel is Vincent Alexander, because he's referring to Alexander asking for nullification of the elections, which is ludicrous. Everyone is aware of that. So Vincent Alexander, and I have said it, I've been saying that when they have many people who were suggesting to me that this is a decent man, I used to say that this is the worst of the lot because of the demeanor he has that throws you off from his crookery and crookishness. And so he has been the chief architect in this from day one, pushing everything, all the arguments at the level of GECOM. We have gone there to meetings to reach a chair, and all the arguments. Listen, he was attempting to make arguments against why there shouldn't be more polling stations in Monopause, where they crammed at that time, if you recall, 7,000 people in one school building. He was making an argument why they should not, because that was an attempt to disenfranchise our people through frustration. So the point is, you would hear all of this ludicrous thing because it's over. They can't argue anymore. They win the elections. You notice the last 6 weeks, you have not heard that at all in their vocabulary. That the wind has gone, you know.
Joe, I'll consider this your closing comment.
Yes. So importantly, I need to make a quick comment here. I saw the chairperson responding to something that was on social media about some conversation she's having with someone. But the point is, as I read our missive, these people are attempting to say the chairperson was having a conversation with the IT manager to manipulate an election process that utilizes paper. So just think about it. He is having a conversation with the IT manager to manipulate the elections to the benefit of one political party in a system where you have to put your X on a paper.
Joe,
So that is
there's a deliberate reason why I did not raise this issue. And the reason being is that I did not want to give any credence or prominence. And I don't know if I'm going to get into trouble here for that level of BS. So I really did not want to give any prominence.
Michael, I raised it in the context of not so long ago before I came to the program. The chair issued a press release debunking the matter. And I'm saying in the simplest of terms to Guyanese, how stupid and ignorant these people are that they couldn't find something better to say if they want to throw dirt on the chairperson. That she is having a conversation with the IT manager to manipulate an election process to the benefit of the political party, an election process that uses paper. So you could understand the level of stupidity.
Absolutely. Adrian, your closing thoughts?
They have attacked everyone. From the diplomats in the ABC countries, the CARICOM, you name it, you name the honorable men of integrity from around, men and women of integrity from around the world. APNO has attacked all and sundry. And the chairperson will come on her attacks now, because we are nearing the end of this charade. It has been more than 4 months, nearly 4.5 months, and we are nearing the end of it. So she will come in for her licks now. Now, they went to the elections knowing the rules. These are the rules. They're trying. They have lost the elections, Michael. The whole world knows that. They have to come to grips. Just a few. This corrupt cabal has to come to grips with that reality and move on. But instead, you have fresh elections, best solution. No longer are they saying that they want it. No longer are they talking about swearing in Granger. No, we want fresh elections now. So they have moved, they have changed the narrative now. And they see that this is near now. They have changed the narrative. We have had, whilst we have been waiting for our election completed, we have had an election in Suriname that was completed. We have had one in the islands. Around the globe, there have been elections that have been completed. In a few days, millions, tens of millions of people have voted and their votes were counted and it's done. We have had elections right here in the Caribbean where the ethnic makeup of the country is not dissimilar to ours. You have different minorities, a whole set of different minorities so make up the population. And you don't have any group anywhere saying that, look, we want fresh elections because we lost, and making up all manner of nonsensical.
Even Bautas are conceded.
Yes, even Bautas. He's a convicted criminal in his country, and he had the decency and the integrity and to accept defeat and get out of government. But these guys here are a different kettle of fish. So they will go down fighting. And this Alexander here, I describe him as a pseudo-intellectual. And he, as Joe quite rightly said, is the one who is behind this all along. So, but Michael, just get back to what's at stake here at 2 o'clock. I think a report will be produced in accordance with what the chairperson directed. And as quite rightly said, if that is not forthcoming, the boss could summarily dismiss you because you are refusing a direct, a lawful instruction of your superior, your boss, and he will have to go, and we'll have to deal with that when we get to that bridge.
Thank you, Adrian. Of course, I have been having these and many other discussions, not only with you, Joe and others. So again, I'm most appreciative for all the contributors. Political czar, if I may, Joseph Hamilton, an attorney at law, Adrian Anamayah.
I know every program you're changing my title.
I thank you both for being a part of this.
You're like, no man, you have to be consistent. You change.
Thanks again.
Michael, have a good day. Adrian, nice seeing you.
Yes, sir.
Have a good day.
I am Michael Gordon, and to our viewers and listeners, thanks for being a part of this. This has been Government in Transition, Compliments of the People's Progressive Party Civic.